the season has come to an end. I mean, that's pretty obvious. With the Bears 24-7, round of 16, playoff loss, or second round, as you would call it in some circles, Matt. So it's bittersweet to be recording the Talking Bear Football podcast.
Right here on westbranch.football.
Presented by the Browns family of dealerships.
But I always like talking about West Branch football. It's always better when you win, but when you lose, to still be able to give the kids credit for the work that they put in and the coaches as well, Matt, is something that I think needs to be out there.
We do the show win or lose, rain or shine or whatever it is, whatever cliches you can come up with, as we usually do through 108 episodes so far.
Or is it 109 with that AB thing?
Yeah, it's 108. We'll call it 108. We're calling it.
Fair enough.
108.
We're calling it 108, yeah. 24-7 was the final score. At the beginning of that game, it kind of was going the way Beckman was going to plan it for it to go. They wanted to attack, try to wear their opponent down, drag you down the field with them as they go into the end zone, and do it again and again, and go put the women and children in bed and go hunting for dinner. And they had the Bears on the ropes. Got them down inside. Steven about ready to score, tried a field goal, and missed. And then the Bears get the ball. Something crazy happened. They made a drive as well. But the first quarter, there wasn't much going on. But as the game wore on, I think I hate to say it, the better team probably won this football game.
You could definitely tell that Beckman is a senior-laden team. They are a group that's been playing at the varsity level for at least 2, if not 3 years. They came in, they had a solid game plan of what they wanted to do to slow our offense down, basically saying, we're going to make Carver Belk beat us through the air. We're not going to let Andy Henson run. And they've got a bowling ball of a running back in Owen Hunergarth, and they said, we're going to just line up and make you stop him. And we saw as the night wore on that he is a hard guy to bring down. So tip your cap to them. But, I've said to myself several times since Friday night, I still wouldn't trade this team for anything that we've got wearing the black and red because, they are just effort, heart, grit. There's no quit in them. Even when they're down 17 points with 2 minutes to go, they still are giving it their all. And so, unfortunately, Beckman got the plays. They got, a couple of the breaks, forced some turnovers, and came away with the win. But, I still love our guys and everything that they were working at and trying to get accomplished all season long that unfortunately came to an end Friday night.
So, Matt, you could almost say all grit, no quit, if we're looking at it like Steven was proposing.
Yeah, well said. I think, this was a game that Beckman had, I think, as they've done for most of the season, kind of a main game plan, kind of like Regina does too, where you run your big back, he gets hit at the line of scrimmage, falls forward for 8 yards somehow, and just work your way down the field that way. And man, as you two talked about last week, they are big. And it obviously comes through a little bit on film, but until you see it in person, man, that line is huge. Hunergarth as we've talked about him for the last, three seasons now. I'm glad he'll be gone. I'm glad we don't have to see him again. But I know they've got some other guys coming up too. But yeah, Steven, as you said, this team, I think they just kept fighting till the end, and that's who they are. They did that every game this season, win or lose. They just kept going and going and going. Never got upset, never got down, always there, wanting to finish those games off. And that's what they did. And I think this game, we continued just to see progress made by the offense. Carver Belk had a career game so far, and that's his 10th game at quarterback, and every single one of them he has gotten better, smarter, faster, everything, every word you want to throw out there. So I think that the defense, extremely well. Cale Seidel, a couple really good plays on defense. I think just there's a lot of good things to look forward to. And yeah, the 8 seniors that we're losing, it's going to be a bummer to lose them. I miss them already. But I think there's a lot of good things to look forward to. And despite the result of this game, I think it just shows a bright future.
Well, Matt, we'll go ahead and go with the scoring summary, and then we can close this game up with some thoughts and observations.
So, Jason, as you mentioned, a scoreless first quarter. So we're going to pick it up in the second and late in the second, actually, with 1:53 remaining in the first half. Beckman drives 55 yards in 8 plays to crack the scoreboard first with a 1-yard touchdown run from Hunergarth, 7-0 Blazers. The Bears following possession, they had a good drive going into Beckman territory, but Beckman intercepted a Carver Belk pass near their own 20, and then they drive down to the Bears 10-yard line, and somehow with 0.6 seconds left on the clock, they make a short field goal to go up 10-0 headed into the half. In the third quarter, Beckman intercepts another pass and again proceeds to drive down the field to put points on the board, this time with a 37-yard tight end pod pass wide open. Stephen, I think you called it well on the Bearcast. We've kind of just been playing up all game, expecting Hunergarth to run it, and they caught us lurking, and wide open right up the middle of the field, 17-0 Blazers. Still in the third, the Bears get on the board with a 7-yard jet sweep play from Peyton Miller. And that was, set up by a kind of a fun 50-yard flea flicker play to Andy Henson. I think we had seen it in practice on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we ran it against Cardinal, but we had a penalty because we had 2 guys that were moving, so we had an illegal shift, so it didn't count.
Got it. Okay. But yeah, 50-yard flea flicker play. Gosh, I think everybody on the offense touched the ball. No, I'm kidding. 3 or 4 guys. Yeah, 3 or 4 guys. But yeah, that was a long pass to Andy Henson from Belk to set up the Bears in the red zone. So 17-7 Beckman at that point. Bears tried to get back into the game, but just couldn't do so, and Beckman put it away with 6:45 remaining in the fourth on a 4-yard touchdown pass. 24-7 Blazers, and that is how the game finished.
And I think about some of those drives, Stephen. We'll let Matt take a little break here. When you look at West Branch's drives, West Branch did most of its damage going to the west. And the wind was out of the northwest. Most of their damage was going into the wind. So some of those throws when you're kind of trying and you're in desperation or trying to make a big play came up a little short and were picked off by the Blazer defenders. West Branch never really got anything going as they had a little wind advantage, which is usually the opposite when you think about a wind at 15 or 20 mile an hour.
Yeah, and it was weird because, like you say, it was northwest, so it was kind of a cross breeze.
Right.
So it was a slight advantage, but you could see that. I mean, the 2 interceptions, it was just a case where, we had good routes run and Carver stepped into it and threw it. The wind just knocked it down, and Beckman just had the position on it. I mean, I called it on the Bearcast of, they just kind of boxed us out. And, I mean, it seemed like contact, but really it wasn't. When you go back and watch it after the fact, I mean, they were just in good position that if that wind isn't blowing or if the wind is at our back, maybe it carries it a little bit and we drop it in where it needs to be. But unfortunately, the wind just kind of cut it down, and, it was just... It's one of those frustrating things because, I mean, it seemed like a game of so close, just woulda, coulda, shoulda. And, you never want to second guess anything. But, it's like we went for it on 4th down in the first half. Do you take the points there? I like the call to go for it myself because you know that it's going to be hard to score. So try to get some points. And then, the 2 interceptions on plays that we had. We had a nice long pass play, and we got called for an unsportsmanlike penalty. I mean, it was just so many times, and so many times that I think some of the things that we've seen from this young team where, and Coach Hirschman said it at halftime, 95% of the offensive play works, but that 5 or 10% makes all the difference in the world. And I hope that the guys are kind of looking at some of those things and doing some learning in the offseason of, I may be the backside tight end and the play's going away from me, but if I make sure that I step properly and get just enough of a chip on this guy, it slows him down, so then my quarterback has another second to step into it and delivers a strike and we get the first down, rather than he throws on the run and it's an incomplete pass. I mean, and that's not a specific play. That's just a, made up situation. But it's just those little things that, the play's going away from me, no big deal, I don't have to try. No, you do have to try, because that sells it, that makes the defense react differently than if they see you kind of moping around lollygagging. They're having to commit because they think you're doing something else. So,
yeah, and with how young this team is, I think that's just something that's going to come with time. It takes experience. It takes failure to get better in that scenario. They need to live it, and they need to learn from it. And those underclassmen now, they've got this whole off season up until August 26th next year to get that figured out and realize, those little things make a big difference.
Right. Really quickly, to Matt's point, when he was giving the summary, he said they somehow got a field goal in. I went back 7 times because, I like to do these things, and did it perfectly from the snap, and I timed it. Every single time it was between 5.5 and 5.7 seconds when the incomplete pass hit the ground in the southeast corner of the end zone. So I actually think the timer up in the stands got it right.
I know. It's just funny. Yeah.
It was that it was 0.6. If I see 1.2 or 1.1, something like that, probably wouldn't even make a fuss about it.
All right.
But 0.6, of course, I'm going to go check it out.
0.1.
They nailed it. I think they nailed that right. Another point I was going to make is, even in a losing factor, was it Matt or Steven? One of you said had a career night for Carver Belk as a passer. By the way, that was a top 10 in the history of West Branch football passing night. Number 9. From what I can find over the last 22 years of stats, it's number 9. Most of the top 8 are guys by the name of, what were their names? Shoot. Oh, Cornwell. And
never heard of him.
Heiserman. Gavin Heiserman.
Yeah, Heiserman is right.
Heiserman.
Yeah.
Hey, there's one from a phenomenal graduating class. Aaron Vincent should still be in that top 10.
With 312. Yeah, he's probably
327, I thought it was.
327. Yeah, he was, it was 312 or 311, sorry, against
311. Yeah.
Mount Vernon. And then Bo got that, and then Heiserman got that, and it's good times. So
now Bulk.
Now Bulk's up there in some
Boel.
some fine category.
Bulk.
So yeah, and I'm sure their families can appreciate the fact that we understand what their real names are. We're just going by the official second round of the playoff pronunciation.
It's always fun when we go on the road that you actually, Beckman was one of the few, but you get the PA announcers that track you down and say, how do I pronounce these?
Right.
I think the sports information director needs to put together a pronunciation
list. Yeah, maybe that's for next year, unfortunately. But I don't really know what else to say. From my perspective of this game, is it was tough loss. If anybody tries to say they overachieved, no. West Branch kids never overachieve. They just work hard and they get things done. And we know how to, and they've learned how to win. It's part of the tradition. It's part of the program, winning. And hopefully I think it's going to continue next year. Anything else from you guys? Is this game?
Now with this game, I mean, Beckman's a good team. And
yeah,
best of luck to them. They've got, I guess we could just segue into other playoff action here, but they've got MFL Marmac coming to town.
A team they beat 41-7 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and then winner of that will take on the winner of Sigourney Kyoto and Dyke New Hartford. So, yeah, best of luck to Beckman. Yeah, they're a good team. Big, as we talked about, Hunergarth is a bruising runner, and I think they've got they have some other weapons on offense too that can take them far. So, yeah, best of luck to Beckman. But yeah, in other playoff action, as I mentioned, MFL Marmac, they're going to head to Beckman because they defeated Iowa City Regina 21-7. Pella Christian took on Dyke New Hartford, and as I alluded to earlier, Dyke New Hartford won that one 35-14. And then kind of another one that's kind of in the area of interest, Sigourney Kyoto defeated Columbus Catholic 18-7.
And when you look at that pod, as the state called them, these 4-team pods, look at Dyke New Hartford. This team was nowhere near a ranking sheet in the preseason, and they are dominating teams.
Yeah.
They are 10-0, and they're dominating teams. The closest game, the best game they had was against Columbus Catholic early on. They were losing by 2 touchdowns in that game, came back to win by, I think, almost 2 touchdowns. It may have been 35-21 was the
first game
final.
of the season.
Yeah. So this is a team that people slept on. I guess they've never heard of Dyke New Hartford before. Because
are they any good?
Yeah, Don Betts, longtime coach there. He's got something good going at Dyke New Hartford.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so this was I would have called it in Class 1A the pot of death, because you're talking, if you look at it, MFL Marmac beating Regina was the big upset, obviously. When you look at it like that, I think I can talk. MFL Marmac over Regina was an upset.
Yeah.
But they also just got a couple kids back from injury, and they've got one of those things that's going. The old school is coming back with the offenses, guys. With a lot of these teams, look at the teams that are left on this side of the state. It's old school football. It isn't 4 wide, 5 wide, shoot them out, throw them out all day long, like you're going to see at OABCIG, etc. Sigourney Kyoto, well, we know what they've got. Dyke New Hartford, very traditional. MFL Marmac, I think they've passed like 4% of the time this year. And we saw Beckman, big physical teams are very successful in the playoffs. And yeah, let's wish them well.
We wish you well.
We wish you well. See how good we are? That is why we do this podcast. Season-ending statistics, gentlemen. The wonderful people there at iSports, iScore, Varsity Bound, whatever Varsity Bound. Well, we got these season-ending stats emailed to us. How about that? Did you get that email too?
Is that what that was sent late last night?
It was.
From
you
iScore?
deleted it, I presume.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did.
Well, here's some. Steven, did you get that?
I don't get those, no.
Okay, well.
I'm not one of the cool kids.
Here's some things that stood out to me, which you can see them on Varsity Bound if you've got those pulled up, and you probably do. A couple things that stood out to me. Carver Belk, 902 yards passing, 5 touchdowns on the season. In fact, about over 1/4 of his passing yards came in the final game. He was just shy of 1,000, which is kind of the quote unquote old school barometer for passing success. Look at Andy Henson. How many rushing yards, man? I know you've got it pulled up now.
I wish this was somehow sorted in a way that was logical, and it is not. 1,320.
1,320. So in 10 games, Steven, give me the little West Branch math. That's what?
130 some a game.
Yep. Give or take.
132 a game.
That's a nice statistic. Interesting statistic. 7 games over 100 yards, 3 games under 100 yards. West Branch's record, 7-3. Amazing. Those teams
I was a little slow on my math, Jay, because I was just looking at some of those. Columbus, we had 28 rushing yards from Andy Henson. Regina, we had 32 from Andy Henson. Beckman, we had 25 from Andy Henson. So, as Andy Henson went, this team went. And
the incredible thing about Andy, too, is his ball security.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't realize this, but he had 1 fumble on the season, and it wasn't lost. He recovered his own.
Yeah.
That's like that. That is an invaluable ball security is an invaluable type of thing. That
yeah.
I mean, yeah. there's really nothing else to say other than it's just how invaluable that is.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that was going to be for me, looking at every single statistic, that was the one that stood out to me of all the stats on this sheet. Yeah, I mean, 1,320, that's a wonderful season. It's a great season. Almost 1,000 yards passing. That's a great season. And I mean, total yardage, Andy, 1,481? And Carver Belk, 1,167. So you got two guys, the quarterback and the running back, obviously, they should lead your team in total yardage in most seasons.
And both back.
And both are back next year. And by the way, I think the leading receiver for the season was Peyton Miller. Threw the ball at him 37 times. 37 times, and he caught 19. So he was the leader in touches and a leader in receptions. And how many yards? 228. But then you look at receiving yardage for numbers. Three of the next five leaders, actually 3 of the next 4 are coming back next year. Actually, 4 of the next 5 are returning in 2021.
Yeah, Andy Henson, Holden Arneman, Kenneth Belk,
And
Wyatt Federland.
Wyatt Federland, not Lind. That's a different guy. It's the other guy. So, what do you think, Stephen, when you look at the stats or when you look back at this season? What thing really stands out to you?
I mean, I just think the way that this team grew. I mean, we've talked about that a lot, but you look at this schedule, Lisbon, top 10 team, and we win just a hard-fought, not pretty, just slugfest. Columbus, top 10 team, and our defense really kept a high-powered offense in check. We just couldn't get the offense clicking, and kind of like we saw where 1 or 2 things would hurt a play, hurt a drive, something like that. And then to be able to come back and, have a controlling first half against Meepo, have Meepo come back and basically regain momentum and then drive back down and regain the lead and, take care of a solid Durant team, take care of a solid Wilton team, have a great performance in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, just seeing how this team started to mature and seeing, for us going out on Tuesdays when we do our interviews and, just being able to be around the guys and see how close they are and see how much they have fun when they're doing different ISO drills or different things within practice and, just finding all of those other things that they've been able to do and grow from and just see them, developing as young men and as football players and becoming a better team throughout the entire season.
And Matt, from your spot, either on the sideline, up in the booth, in the Blue Pearl, what's something you want to take away from this season?
Yeah, I mean, we keep coming back to it, but I think just the youth. I mean, this team had to replace 6, 7, 8 starters, and that's probably both ways, just because of how small we are. Most everybody plays 2 ways or 3 ways with special teams. I think what this team was able to do, where finishing 7-3, making it to the second round of the playoffs, being you could make an argument that we had a decent chance in most every, if not every game, even the ones that we lost. I think is pretty impressive. And as Steven said, they just kept growing and growing and growing game after game. And we could see it before our eyes. It's not like something that, well, you would obviously see it in statistics and things like that as they're going, but just the eye test. Just something that you watch as we're watching them, of course, closely, both during the game and watching it again after the game too. They just kept growing and getting better, getting smarter, getting more mature, getting more comfortable with the playbook. And you heard that from the coaches, heard that from the players, obviously, heard that from media, whatever it is. And it showed on the field. And I think that's really impressive. And, as I mentioned earlier, losing the 8 seniors that we're losing stinks. I mean, they're a fantastic class. Like in my memory, at least one of the best classes, at least from my perspective of what I do with the team. Just a fun group to work with. Gonna miss those guys and gonna miss their talents on the field. Cole Bailey, Drake Berry, Seth Franzoni, Gavin Hills, Brady Hunger, Peyton Miller, Cash Woody, and then Miles Hansen too. It's unbelievable the amount of leadership and strength that they showed on and off the field. They're going to be missed, but as I said, I think we've got a really good group of seniors and currently juniors and sophomores that are arguably extremely important to this team and played a critical role as much as these seniors did this year. So bummer way to end the season. We're always there's only gonna be one team that ends the season with a win. That unfortunately wasn't us this year, but I think just there's a lot of bright spots here on this team and in this program, and already looking forward to next year.
Unfortunately, Matt, there are more than one team that's going to do it this year because Tipton and North Cedar played at the end of the year with this goofy schedule this year. Stupid that they did it. Because
they played a week 9 game.
They played a week 9
well,
game. They had those extra. Yeah. I know what you meant. I'm just messing with you. When you think about it, there's only one team that people are going to remember, and it's the team that wins the state championship. The people from the outside. But inside West Branch, this team, that's who we're going to remember. We're going to remember Cash Woody. We're going to remember Drake Berry, a 3-year starter. Peyton Miller, a 3-year varsity player. We're going to remember guys like Cole Bailey, a 3-year varsity player. They gave their heart, their blood, their guts, their sweat, their tears, and a few extra adjectives and other things on the field to this football team. I'm going to remember 2 things. One, I'm going to joke about. The other one, serious. One, it's the first football team I've ever seen anybody get a penalty for signaling with their hand that the team got a first down. First time I've ever seen that. That's pretty impressive that you're just pointing for a first down and it costs you 15 yards. My opinion, 15 yards well spent.
Yeah, better not show emotion.
Yeah, don't show any emotion. Don't say any words.
And don't celebrate.
Don't do that. Yeah. Don't celebrate. Just robotically go back to the huddle. But more than anything, to kind of tie on to what Matt said with the seniors and how they interacted with Stephen, Matt, myself, anybody else that spoke with them as far as the media and the community at large, but how the sophomores, juniors interacted with the seniors. And I sometimes, I hear family, and I will come clean and say sometimes I giggle. But this team actually, to me, may have lived up to that more than any, because there was no identity for this team coming into this season. When you only have 8 seniors out of about 30 varsity players, I can't remember the last time, if there ever has been, a class that was this small from a graduating class. But the way they came together it's a lesson that the teams below them can learn, and hopefully they'll carry on as we move forward. Stephen, I know there are a lot of people, you see them up in your booth, that help you out, that help out with the Bearcast, that help out on the sidelines that we see. The stats guys, I'm not going to give them, we'll just say thanks. They take care of their own, their self promotions. They do all that on their own. So I think they have their own website now, probably their own. I'm guessing that they're starting up at Bitcoin. They're going to start their own cryptocurrency.
Maybe they'll do a podcast.
Yeah, maybe they'll do that. That'd be great to have that kind of a podcast in West Branch that talks about the football team. But Stephen, a lot of volunteers, a lot of people behind the scenes. And why don't you thank those guys?
It's one of those where, Mike and I especially, because we're the voices that you hear a lot. A lot of people are like, oh, we love hearing you, and you guys just do a great job, and you can just tell you love doing it. And you're right, we do, and the 3 of us enjoy doing this, and it's a labor of love. But you also look at the people that, when you have a home football game, you've got the chain gang. Yeah, we give them a hard time, but we know they're volunteers. They're down there, and they have to listen to the opposing coaches. They have to make sure they know what they're doing. Our guys, they do it right. They're very professional about it. And so even though we give them some good-natured ribbing, we do appreciate everything that they do. Those stat guys, this is hard for me, but those emails that you got, Jason, is because of what those stat guys do. And I mean, they're the guys that are down there, rain or shine, whatever. They've got their walkie-talkies because they're all fancy now. They want to be like us with wireless technology. But, they're the ones, they're tracking it. And, they could just kind of mail it in and be like, it looked like it was 3-4 yards. I don't care. But no, they, again, are professional about it. They work their tails off. They do a great job in that press box. I mean, Jason, you've got a room full of people with you that, there's normally 2 or 3 people that are helping with scoreboard and spotting and PA announcing and music. You've got the marching band. You've got, just so many different things that go into it on a Friday night at a home game that, those volunteers are very integral to making it part of that experience at Butch Peterson Field, at the Little Rose Bowl, on Oliphant Street, in historic downtown West Branch, in East Central Iowa, in the upper Midwest, of the Northern Hemisphere, of the...
So all you're saying
whatever.
is it takes a village.
It does take a village. And then finally, we somehow got out without being able to interview her this year, but we got 2 of her proteges that were seniors. But Jody Culver, I tell you what, and Jay Bird, you're around her a lot more than we are. She does everything. I mean, this football program doesn't move forward without Jody Culver. And big, huge tip of the cap to her, getting the managers in place, knowing what they're doing, and basically if there's something that this football team needs, she figures out a way to do it. So a huge thank you to her, among others. So,
and to throw a couple more names on there, Abby Culver helping out with the camera in the end zone. Mr. Kaleberg, Mr. Reaganiter, Ms. Johnson helping out with on the side as managers. That's a thing. That really is a thankless job. And they kind of sometimes can go through, what, but boy, do they bring it together on Friday nights, and these kids usually appreciate them 100% of the time. I shouldn't say usually. They never give them any crap on the sidelines. There's always thank yous. Thanks for the water. Just for handing them water. Thank you. That tells you there's some respect for what these kids do. And definitely Jody Culver. Fantastic job. And if we missed anybody, it's, we want to say...
There's a reason I didn't list a lot of specific
Jared
names.
Tiley,
but
the coach, what a wonderful addition he was to our Bearcast crew this year. Honestly, he really, really was. Jerry Flagle this year went 1-1. He was there for 2 weeks filling in for JT. And, we always have a spot in the booth or wherever for Sideline Jerry. He's got...
Voice of the Bears Emeritus.
Voice of the Bears Emeritus, yes.
I think
that's
JT
true.
took more vacation days than any of us have ever since we started the Bearcast.
He took 2 vacation days in one season. And
Yeah.
I've taken one in the last 12 years.
I left 3 minutes early from a game that was over because my kid was in the emergency room.
Yeah, and I was getting married.
Matt took one just because he's getting married. I mean,
Married?
What? Yeah, that's an excuse. That's okay though. Off-season events is next up on our list of things. The football banquet probably going to happen within the next few weeks. Keep an eye. I'm sure we'll get that up on westbranch.football, not westbranchfootball.com. Westbranch.football. Probably going to be a Sunday early evening, late afternoon, early evening party, whatever you want to call it. Just an affair to come together and recognize the accomplishments of these kids and the cheerleaders and the whole deal. Highlight film. Probably going to get together. We are going to get that out in December. Just keep an eye on westbranch.football and social media for information about that. And Stephen, I'm going to let you answer this question. The 2022 football season begins
August 26th. Thanks, Matt, for saying it earlier in the podcast. I was paying attention. And we'll be at home, right back at the Butch Peterson Field at the Little Rose Bowl on Oliphant Street in downtown West Branch.
Historic
downtown West Branch.
In picturesque East Central Iowa. It officially began, I guess, the day after, at about 10 o'clock on Friday night. I think the first day of practice is probably around August 2nd. And we're looking forward. A lot of things going on for that. Want to wish the winter sports teams the best of luck in their endeavors with the basketball programs and the wrestlers. And I know the Maybe the most anticipated season of the year is coming up soon. Christopher Jive and the Uptown 325 are going to be back on the swing choir circuit. And it's going to be fun. It's always a good show. Hopefully they can get that new auditorium done so they can have a show there this year. Host a show to show off the building itself and to show off the talents of all these kids in West Branch for once.
That is the plan. They're supposed to have the SNJ Saturday Night Jive my birthday weekend, the weekend of January 22nd. So
self-promotion is a great thing.
Already on the calendar. And I'll be in Columbus, Ohio for Iowa wrestling against Ohio State.
Hey, by the way, Matt, happy birthday 3 weeks late.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You know, Steven wouldn't do that. I would. Anything else you guys want to throw in for off-season stuff before we talk about one more thing?
I would just say, I know you'd like to ask us for like some pep talks and whatnot. So I'll just give my thoughts for the underclassmen, the guys coming up. Like you said, Jay, next year started at 10 o'clock Friday night. Started a little earlier than we wanted to, but the key is, I think really two huge keys. One, getting that weight room. Because, like Coach Peterson said Friday night, the teams that we lost to this year were bigger and stronger than us. So we got to make sure that we're continuing to grow, get those calories getting into you, get bigger, get stronger, get faster, just become better athletes all around. And I think the other thing is get your noses in the playbooks and watch film, just kind of understand the game of football, understand, why is it that Coach Hirschman's saying that on this play you need to do this. Look at it and kind of really understand it. I'm sure you could talk to any of the coaches and they would sit down with you at some point and say, yeah, here's the types of things that you need to be looking at. So just kind of learn, understand, and grow as players so that you are getting better. Because when we kick it off again next year, we said there was a lot of these teams that we played that were really good. There's a lot of those teams that had a lot of underclassmen just like us. So that schedule is going to be just as challenging next season. So we got to make sure that we're working hard and getting better each and every step of the way. And, Aiden Shields works with me down at the ice cream shop. He was in on Saturday, and he looked at me and goes, the season, it felt like it flew by. It feels like just last week I was at Lisbon playing my first varsity game, and now it's done. I said, and now you're a senior, and it's going to go even faster. So don't take anything for granted. Make the most of every opportunity you get when it comes to being a West Branch Bear football player.
Steven, how can they keep up with West Branch football and all the things that we're going to talk about, all the events and things that can happen in the offseason between now and next August?
Let's see. So you turn on your computer. Yeah. Westbranch.football.
Well, that's a lot for Jason. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. I was lobbing it for you. I was hoping you saw it.
God bless you guys.
Westbranch.football. That's going to be your go-to source. And if you want to go back and relive anything, go to YouTube. Matt's got all those games posted up there too. So look for the West Branch Bears YouTube channel, old games. Might even have an opportunity this offseason to get some classic games going up there as well. So
classic games and maybe some classic podcasts. Matt, it was August of 2014 on East Court Street in Iowa City when you and I came up with the ridiculous idea of doing the Talking Bear Football podcast.
Right here on westbranchfootball.com.
Yes.
No sponsor, sorry.
No, it was powered by
powered by the Hoop Project.
Oh, the Hoop Project.
Powered by the Hoop Project. We thought, you know what? We've been seeing all these college teams and professional teams do it. Why can't we do this at the high school level? Come together, talk about the game that was, maybe talk to a coach or a player or two, maybe do a live show at the old school Main Street Suites and the new one, or from the old press box. May it rest in peace, really. Rest in peace. I'm surprised nobody got hurt. In pieces. And, or do live from Herb and Lou's after a football game on a Friday before the playoff matchups came out. Matt, why don't you go ahead for a few minutes, talk about what you remember?
Yeah, just in case nobody's picking up on what Jason's laying down here, this is our last episode of the Talking Bear Football podcast right here on westbranchfootball.com. Yeah, we just decided that as much as we love doing it, we've got a whole host of other things that we're doing on westbranch.football with, social media and Bearcast on Friday nights and highlights and full games and highlight film and all of that stuff that we've got going on that everybody loves. As we're getting busier and busier with personal lives and things like that, it's one of these things that we had to take a step back and look at and say, we're spending a lot of time on this. We love to do it, but we need to spend more times with our families and loved ones and things like that. And this is one area where we had to make the tough call to say, I think let's step back from that and kind of refocus our efforts on other things that we're doing, and then also our family and friends and things like that too.
Right.
So, so it's been a ride. 108 episodes now. This is 108. Kind of crazy to get at this point. And what'd you say, Jason? We're doing this since 2014,
Since
August
2014. Yeah.
Yeah. So six and a little more than 7 years, of this. And it's been fun. I know these episodes have gotten a lot better since then, both with the jackasses you hear on the microphone, but also how they're edited and how they sound and all that kind of stuff too. So
I would just like to say I'm honored to be considered one of the jackasses that you hear on here. Thanks for including me.
Steven, I think, when did you come in?
What'd you say? It was episode 70, 68, somewhere in there.
Looks like, 64.
64.
Is the first one that I see you mentioned in the description. So that was October 8th, 2018. And yeah, thanks for coming on, Steven. I mean, it's added.
Yeah.
Obviously,
thanks for improving us. That's
yeah.
for sure.
I don't have a voice for radio nor a face for video. So, good to.
Hey, at least I've got the face for radio. So
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Somebody else to come in and help us out. And, I think you've, invaluable part to us three here. And, thank you for coming on, Steven. And
honored that you asked me.
And Jason, thanks for hosting most of the 108 episodes that we've done. It's been fun, as we talked about it, as we started it from East Court Street in Iowa City, and now here we are today. And it's been awesome. It's been great.
Well, I can say this is the part where Jason loses it. You grow up in a town and you fall in love with things. And my first love was West Branch football. And hearing the voice, Jerry Flegel, and I heard Vid Johnson on the intercom, the PA down at the football field. And his voice would just resonate for 120 miles. It was so deep and distinct. And when I was a kid, my brother always wanted to be the voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes. He fulfilled his dream. Well, in short, thanks to, Butch's trust or whatever in me, being the PA guy and really being a co-host with Matt and Steven of this podcast, I got to live mine. And that was to be a voice of the West Branch football program. So, to all the 17 people that are going to listen to this,
well, it's a little more than
you.
that. Come on.
Well, we want to thank some people. I know that Mr. Giesey's listening, and Mr. Rummelhart. My parents are listening, and for anybody else that you guys know of, we want to thank you for your support of the podcast. But not just of that. It's not the podcast that we're supporting. We're supporting the kids, the product that's on the football field on Friday nights and Monday nights, or Thursday nights or Tuesday nights, whenever they decide to schedule some of the Freswa football games. But anything for West Branch, we want to thank you for your support and for taking, used to be an hour with Mrs. Geesey doing her walks around West Branch or wherever, listening to this program. And thank you, Stephen, for being a part of it, and for everybody out there. So with that, I guess for the last time, and we thank you for that, for listening along. This is the Talking Bear Football Podcast.
Right here on westbranchfootball.com.
Powered by the Hoot Project. Thank you, everybody. And Stephen, take us out.
Take care, everyone.
I never cried when I was younger.
And Jason cried because Jason's a crier.
Yeah, I'm kind of a crier. Oh, boy. No, I'm crying because really that whole, when you're a kid, you want to do something thing, and it really wasn't that big of a deal, but, it is what it is. And I'm crying because Matt would say, come on in the kitchen. We would record from the table. I could just see us recording
Yep.
on that table. And then when we record, we'd get 5-6 kids to come upstairs into the press box. And I thought it would fall down because there were too many people up there in one spot. Oh, man. And then Stephen, we recorded. I could hear that bell from the door opening of that episode.
Oh, yeah.
And then Stephen wouldn't let us record the one inside. We had to do it outside.
I don't remember that. Why did I make you sit outside?
We did an inside episode and an outside episode at the new location.
Yeah, we did an inside one at the one next to Lindo.
I remember that one.
Or next
And
to
I remember you
Casey's.
coming down for the other one, but I was thinking that I didn't remember doing it outside.
We did it outside, probably just because it would have sounded better and probably busy inside and things like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All that good stuff. So